The election is fast approaching us, and it's almost time to start heading to the polling places. But you don't have to wait till Tuesday to make your vote. We talked to Douglas County Election Commissioner Dave Phipps about the early voters, and we're also going to preview the Senate race between Bob Kerrey and Deb Fischer. Good afternoon, I'm Anthony Pontiero.
And I'm Jan Moore. The Northeast is going through only its third hurricane in 161 years. We're going to give you an update on how very rare storm. You're watching the Omaha News.
This is the Omaha News, presented by the School of Communication at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, from the studios of UNO Television.
Hurricane Sandy, or Frankenstorm, as a lot of people are calling it, has ruined many Halloweens in the Northeast. The storm has killed at least 19 New Yorkers, including an off-duty cop who drowned rescuing his family, an elderly woman whose oxygen machine lost power, and two friends that was hit by a tree while walking a dog. The hurricane is estimated to cost $60 billion. It has cut power more to than 8 million homes, and it has shut down 70% of East Coast oil refineries in an area that produces 10% of the U.S. economic output.
The Omaha Henry Doorly Zoo's Gateway to Wildlife campaign was launched to improve the overall look, feel, and experience that one has at the zoo. Now that the zoo has completed Phase 1, it is working on getting Phase 2 completed by next spring. Samantha Neshkosh found out more about this next phase.
During the month of October, the Omaha Henry Doorly Zoo will break the record for most zoo visits in a year, with a count of almost 1.6 million visitors.
It feels a little bit more like an exotic experience.
Many of those that have visited the zoo recently can tell a difference.
It's much more appealing.
The first thing you notice is the new entrance with additional ticket windows for shorter lines, and guest services, which includes lost and found, first aid, and security, which are all now conveniently located at the front entrance. After walking in, you'll notice the new Omaha Steaks Grill. Continuing along, the various changes in the paths and landscaping create a different mood.
It feels a little bit more like an exotic experience.
They've spruced up the aquarium by adding a few new exhibits inside, as well as kids' interactive and play areas. With TripAdvisor rating Omaha's Henry Doorly Zoo #1 in the nation, Moore says that they're excited to see what the community's reaction will be. Phase 2 of the campaign includes a brand new gift shop doubling in size next to the IMAX Theater and the parking lots that are being constructed on the land where Rosenblatt used to be.
We're doing a small area that's going to be called the infield at the zoo. It's a very small ball field. It'll be for kids to go around, maybe run around the bases.
And people will have something to remember Rosenblatt by.
There's a lot of remembrances of Rosenblatt, so people want to come down and just take a look at where home plate was and where the foul poles were and remember those days. We're good with that.
For the Omaha News, I'm Samantha Neshkosh.
For more information on what's happening at the zoo, visit omahazoo.com.
A teenage girl died last night after being shot in the latest Omaha shooting. The victim was identified as a 16-year-old Benson High School student, Ariana Carr. Police said another victim, 20-year-old Nakia Johnson, is in critical condition after getting shot in the thigh. Carr and Johnson were shot near 35th and Reddick Avenue. Police said they currently are not looking for a getaway vehicle.
Police are investigating an attempted robbery at a local gold purchasing store. Two men entered the We Buy Gold store near 108th and Maple on Tuesday. A witness said that the men showed a weapon and tried to rob the store, but changed their minds when they found out they were out of gold bars. Then the men tried to apply for a job at the store before leaving. Police later found two men inside a car that matched the description of the getaway vehicle in an apartment parking lot blocks away, but did not find a weapon. So far, there have been no arrests in the case.
Friends and supporters of two Iowa girls who've been missing plan to distribute flyers tonight to maintain public awareness. 11-year-old Lyric Cook and 9-year-old Elizabeth Collins have been missing since July 13th, when their bikes were found near Myers Lake in Evansdale. Residents are invited to print copies of the missing girls' photos and the tip line number and hand them out to trick-or-treaters. Parents and other adults accompanying children may also distribute flyers door to door. Coming up this past weekend, homebrewers all over the Midwest came to a local establishment for one of the largest gathering and selection of home-brewed beer in Nebraska.
Reporter Robbie Pinkelman is getting ready in the newsroom to tell us about this second annual festival. You're watching the Omaha News.
This is the place you should go first.
There are no advertisers to be satisfied, only an audience to be satisfied.
We take our responsibility as journalists very seriously. We are constantly thinking about our viewers and what they care about.
We want to let you know what the information is, and then you decide what you want to think.
At the News Hour, we are after the facts and only the facts.
I knew as a music teacher that there were festivals for piano students and that type of thing going up, but there was no real public recognition of children's achievements in music until they got to be in high school.
I was embarrassed because I was in middle school, but it was interesting because I didn't think I was good at that point, because you're middle school, you're just you could be best in the orchestra, but you're not sure.
I just remember the joy and the giddiness that these students had. They loved coming to the station and having a tour of the station, and it really meant a lot to them to actually have an interview at this radio station, and they were all so excited and so passionate about music.
When I became a classical kid, I got to go to the Gil Shaham concert at the Jazz and Art Museum, and that concert completely changed my life. Being a classical kid really changed the thought of, could I do music professionally? It was really nice winning something like that. It was pretty good.
The Classical Kids idea was one that stuck because KVNO is all about classical music. It was perfect.
You're watching the Omaha News.
Welcome back to the Omaha News. I'm Anthony Pontiero.
And I'm Jan Moore. Martinis and Miracles held their 9th annual fundraiser at Hair Today Salon. This year was their first year to raise money for all cancer patients and survivors, with all proceeds going to a new organization called the Metamorphosis Fund.
This is our 9th year of doing Martinis and Miracles.
Most of us, when we think of martinis, we think of having a good time. That is exactly what happened at this year's Martinis and Miracles at Hair Today Salon. Hair Today Salon held their 9th annual Martinis and Miracles fundraiser, but this time it was not just for breast cancer patients or survivors, but for all cancer patients. All the donations were given to a new organization called the Metamorphosis Fund. It all started with a hairdresser who personally was affected by cancer.
The Metamorphosis Fund started actually about 12 years ago when my mother, who was dying of ovarian cancer, looked at me and said, "Becky, I want you to do something to help other people."
The goal for the Metamorphosis Fund is to raise funds for cancer patients and survivors with financial burdens.
What we want to do is relieve some financial burden. To me, that's the last thing they should have to worry about. And unfortunately, that's one of the biggest things they have to worry about.
As a cancer survivor, like myself, I know that financial burden can be very stressful during cancer treatment. It is their goal to help improve physiological well-being of those undergoing cancer treatments by providing them with some relief and peace of mind during difficult times.
Help the Metamorphosis Fund be all they can be and give them as much money as we possibly can raise for them.
According to a study by Health Day News, breast cancer survival varies by race and ethnicity. Researchers found that survival rates were worse for blacks and best for Hispanic and Asians compared to whites. But when they adjusted for treatment and other lifestyle factors, blacks had an improved survival rate similar to that of white women. When the researchers applied these same adjustment factors to Hispanic and Asian women, their survival remained above that of blacks and white women.
Home brewing has been a hobby for some people, but for others, it's an art form which takes much trial and error. Robbie Pinkelman is in the newsroom with more. Robbie?
Thanks, Jan. Over the weekend, homebrewers put their creations to the test for a popularity vote at one of Omaha's well-known watering holes. Winner of this competition not only got bragging rights for the year, but also a chance to get their brew put on the shelves. Beer Corner USA hosted its second annual Homegrown Homebrewers Festival over the weekend. Beer Corner USA consists of 4 businesses linked together: the Crescent Moon Ale House, Huber Haas, Max and Joe's, and Beertopia, all located on 36th and Farnham. The purpose of the festival was to have a lighthearted competition to see which home brewer was voted best for their brew. Store manager of Beertopia, Aaron Bush, says brewers came from all over the region to join in on the competition.
Basically what it is there's about 45 people over there with about 55 or 60 beers or so. Just all new creations that you probably never have before and maybe never have again.
The winner of this year's festival is awarded by getting to brew their winning beer through the Lucky Bucket Brewing Company. Now, a ticket into the festival not only gives you the opportunity to try as many new local beers as you want, but it also comes with a free souvenir glass and free appetizers. Bug Eater Brewing Company's Wayne Ferris says that home brewing is becoming more popular in the metro area.
I started brewing again actively about 10 years ago. I think we had one brew club here in Omaha. I think now we have 5 or 6 different brewing clubs. It's just grown exponentially in the past several years.
In order to start as a hobbyist home brewer, Ferris said all it takes is a trip down to your local home brewer store and to pick up a kit, which can run around $100 that includes everything you need to make your first batch. For more information on upcoming events and festivals, check out beercornerusa.com, which has links to each business and drink specials as well.
Robbie, I have a question for you. If someone wanted to learn how to become a home brewer, where would they start?
Great question, Jan. The Crescent Moon, located on 36th and Farnham, is actually hosting a Learn to Home Brew Day Saturday, November 3rd, which will have plenty of experts and demonstrations to help beginners along and on their way. Back to you, Jan.
Thanks, Robbie.
France is planning to increase taxes on beer by 160% to help fund struggling social programs as the country tries to contain a budget deficit hit hard by the economic crisis. The tax would affect local brews and 30% of imported beer the French drink. The change means the price of beer will increase by about 20% in bars and supermarkets. France hopes to raise 480 million euro, or more than 620 million US dollars, for the increase in the beer taxation to boost social benefits such as medical insurance and elderly care. Coming up on the Omaha News in mid-September, Deb Fisher was leading Bob Kerrey by a projected 10% for a Senate spot. And now, at the end of October, it's just 3%.
We're going to preview the race between Fisher and Kerrey and see why Fisher's lead has shrunk so dramatically. You're watching the Omaha News.
UNO TV invites you to take a journey around the world, to lush jungles with endangered species, to exotic lands and different cultures, to lost cities beneath the sands. Travel through time to see ancient secrets on the other side of the world, the growth of the American West, or the start of Nebraska's largest city, or just explore our state. Find out about Nebraska in World War II. Learn how Omaha has grown since. Discover the effort to renovate its green spaces, the history of one of its most impressive buildings, or look at its internationally recognized university. For over 20 years, UNO TV has produced award-winning documentaries that explore, educate, and enlighten. To find out more, call 402-554-2516 or visit unotv.unomaha.edu.
Something wasn't right.
Were they lying to the public?
There was a bigger story here than just a plane crash.
It's become the symbol of everything that's wrong with the industry. kid got 6 vaccines in one day and he regressed. Not only are those children who aren't vaccinated at risk, but those who can't be vaccinated are at risk.
Nobody really knew what was going on. What was it in this market that had to be hidden?
I spent millions of dollars in cash bribing government officials.
People in power do not like the investigation to come too close to them.
You never hear these stories.
Tuesdays on NET1.
You're watching the Omaha News.
Former President Bill Clinton was in Council Bluffs this morning to campaign for current President Barack Obama. In front of a crowd of 600 at the Mid-America Center, Clinton said, quote, "Obama's economic plan is better, his budget plan is better, his education plan is better, his health care plan is better, his plan to bring America together is better, and that is worth standing up for. That is Iowa's future," end quote. During the 35-minute address, Clinton sought to reignite the 2008 excitement that propelled Obama to an Iowa caucus victory over Clinton's wife, Hillary. This during the state blue during the general election. Council Bluffs was the first of 3 cities that Clinton visited today, along with Mason City and Waterloo.
Ben Nelson ran for the U.S. Senate when Bob Kerrey retired in 2001. Now, after Nelson's announcement that he's not going to run for re-election, Kerry's ready to make another run at being a Senate after his 12-year absence. Kevin Grace has more.
No, I don't think I'm risking my reputation at all. I mean, I'm running because I'm worried about the direction of our country. Congress has become brutally partisan, and they haven't been able to balance the budget. We were paying off debt when I left office.
Bob Kerrey shrugs off any questions about risking his reputation by coming back to his home state to run once more for the Senate seat he last held 12 years ago. Tucked into a quiet little office complex in the middle of Omaha, the Bob Kerrey campaign headquarters is buzzing with anticipation. Polls show the race tightening between him and his opponent, Republican Deb Fischer. The war hero, former governor, senator, and college president credits that to his hard-working staff for getting his name back out there.
Well, I think people are getting to know me again, and many people did not know me, did not have a memory of the fact that we balanced the budget when I was governor, that we balanced the budget when I was senator, and that we did a lot to promote and develop production agriculture in the state, to create jobs in the state, to improve the quality of our education in Nebraska. So as I begin to understand what I've accomplished in the past and what I think I'm capable of doing in the future, I think it's, the gap has begun to narrow. I know how to do this job. I know how to be effective.
With just a few days until the election, the Kerrey campaign is working round the clock. They are motivated and they are excited. For the Omaha News, I'm Kevin Grace.
Kerry's opponent in the Senate race is Republican Deb Fischer, a state senator who won the primary election in an upset. Kevin Cleaver reports.
During Nebraska's Republican Senate primaries, the race appeared to be solely between Attorney General John Bruning and State Treasurer Don Stenberg. But on election night, State Senator Deb Fischer came from third place to win the Republican Senate nomination. Fischer has served in the state legislature for the past 7 years. Her policies are aligned with the majority of Republicans currently serving in the Senate, including opposition to Obamacare, advocating rights for gun owners, and supporting a legalization of abortion.
Fischer went from being a relatively unknown state senator to leading one of Nebraska's most popular politicians in the polls.
In the months leading up to the election, Fischer led her opponent, former Nebraska Senator and Governor Bob Kerrey, by a wide margin. She campaigned as an alternative to a career politician.
It's career politicians that have gotten us into this mess that we're in, and I'm not a career politician. This is my first statewide race. People are responding to that, and they're very excited about that.
But according to polls by the Omaha World Herald, Fischer's double-digit lead decreased significantly as Election Day approached. Fischer's dwindling lead is partially credited to a series of attack ads from the Kerrey campaign. Most notably, a controversial ad in which Kerrey outlines a land dispute between Fischer and her neighbors.
First, Deb Fischer sued her elderly neighbors to take their land. The court stopped her.
The Fischer campaign has denied these claims.
Our family needed to clarify a boundary line with a neighbor, and we sought legal clarification. We then followed the legal ruling.
For the Omaha News, I'm Kevin Cleaver.
Even though they've already had 3, Bob Kerrey challenged Deb Fischer Monday to another debate. Kerrey suggested a 4th one focus on national security after Fischer questioned his willingness to address the issues. Fischer declined Kerrey's debate challenge in favor of maintaining her statewide campaigning schedule. Nebraska GOP Chairman Mark Folson said there's no reason for another debate at this point in the race.
Voting doesn't always have to be done on Election Day. You can vote early or cast an absentee ballot. Reporter John D. Haskell says it's becoming the popular option.
Many voters are casting their ballots early.
But I think it's probably going to be significantly higher.
Voting early allows you to skip out on the busyness of Election Day, and it's getting popular.
We've already, surpassed what we're going to see from 4 years ago.
Voters can cast their vote early and avoid difficulties in getting to their polling place on Election Day.
People might be busy on Election Day or they don't want to stand in line for hours.
The Election Commission functions as a polling place for early voters.
Well, on Election Day, we don't take any votes at all. We're not a polling place officially. We only have the voting booths and everything here for people who want to vote early.
Douglas County Election Commissioner Dave Phipps knows that the early vote is helpful.
4 years ago, we saw about 60,000 people vote early, about 40,000 by mail, 20,000 in person. This year, we've already seen about 65,000 by mail.
Phipps' numbers don't even include those who voted at the commission office.
As more and more voters cast their ballots early, it's only going to pick up as we near the election. For the Omaha News, I'm John D. Haskell.
The deadline for voters to cast an early ballot in person at the Election Commission is Monday, November 5th at 5 p.m. Voters may still have an agent pick up their ballots at the Election Commission until Tuesday, November 6th at 7 p.m.
If polling places along the East Coast are without power on Election Day, it might also affect the Omaha area. Omaha-based electronic systems and software spent Monday hashing out contingency plans, backup contingency plans, and backup contingency plans in case polling places remain without power on Tuesday. ES&S is the nation's largest provider of voting equipment and software. It has contracts with counties and states all along the eastern seaboard. Overall, the company will process ballots from 4,000 counties in 41 states, including Nebraska. ES&S pledged Monday to work with each jurisdiction following an individual disaster plan.
Voters go to the polls on Tuesday, November 6th. Join us that night to get all the election results. The Omaha News Vote 2012 begins at 7 p.m. on NAT2 and the Knowledge Network. Our reporters will bring you all the election results from the presidential election to state and local votes, including the very interesting race between Bob Kerrey and Deb Fischer. And we'll have reaction from the Nebraska Senate and House candidates. Join us Tuesday at 7 p.m. Coming up after the break, with today being Halloween, kids are getting ready to go trick-or-treating and going to haunted houses.
And one local radio station is said to be a real haunted house. We went there to find out why it's said to be haunted, and we have a couple stories from some of their employees. You're watching the Omaha News.
Something new or reach beyond.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
When you want to peer inside, there's something wrong here. This isn't normal. It would seem almost impossible or push the limit.
Large tornado! It's humongous! We need to get out now!
When you want to dive deep.
These divers are like astronauts.
Our human nature is to push into places that we don't know about.
Or go to the edge.
There are other worlds out there.
We don't know exactly what we're going to find.
When you want to find new frontiers.
I was truly astonished.
You just don't ever know.
Nova.
Wednesdays on NET1.
You've always known you were a leader.
someone who works hard to achieve your goals. You can see it. You can see your success in front of you. You pursue a college education for the old-fashioned reasons, to learn, to make yourself more valuable, to succeed. You need a place that celebrates your ambition and positions you alongside visionary people just like you. You, my friend, belong here, the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
So you survived Halloween. It is, of course, the one day of the year that is okay to believe in ghosts, and one area location is said to be full of them.
I have no explanation for it whatsoever. I sent an email out to everyone, said, was anyone in the building? Nobody.
Unexplained activities at KFAB on 50th and Underwood have led some to believe that it could be more than just a radio station.
I heard a girl cough, plain as day, and I thought maybe it was one of the girls in the other room that was still here working late. So I go over there, and there's no one. There's no one in the building.
Sounds of coughing and sounds of people walking through the halls and going up and down the stairs are just some of the recent activities at KFAB.
I was moving the boxes, I noticed there's a hole cut out. And when you go downstairs, over back by our sales department, there's a set of wooden steps down there. And this hole was cut out. Came up, got a flashlight, kind of went crawling down there, found a purse.
The purse was strange and unexplainable, and some say it's of the ghost that roams the halls.
So I had nothing to go on but the name on one of the credit cards. And I found someone with the same last name, and I called him. And it was a cousin of hers, and she directed me to her father. I called him up and I said, hey, I've got your daughter's purse. It turns out she had passed away about 2 months before.
With the woman passing away, could she be still looking for that purse she lost long ago? KFAB returned the purse to the woman's father, but as for the ghost, it seems it's there to stay.
KFAB isn't the only place in Omaha that's said to be haunted. A group called Paranormal Research Investigative Studies Midwest, or PRISM, has been investigating Hummel Park to see if it's haunted. Paranormal investigator Carl Norgard said that their investigation has revealed a park's tortured history, and they say there's evidence of paranormal activity, and some have said somewhere there is a Native American burial ground. The park's actual history is even more sinister, filled with stories of car accidents, suicides, and untold violence. PRISM has conducted another investigations, including Villisca Axe Murder House and Mystery Manor in downtown Omaha. That's it for this week's edition of Omaha News. Thanks again for watching. Looking for more? Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/the-Omaha News.
While you're there, you can check out the news stories our reporters covered, submit story ideas, or give us feedback. We'd love to hear from you. From all of us here at the Omaha News and UNO Television, good night and have a happy Halloween.
KVNO was in a really interesting place. This Victorian mansion near UNO.
3 floors. The studios were on the 3rd floor.
Bedrooms and bathrooms. So we had a challenge, but we ultimately ended up with an on-air studio.
We soundproofed it with carpet, and actually I think it sounded really warm, very radio friendly.
There were also rumors that the 3rd floor was haunted. Those were the maid's chambers, as we were told.
I had a sink in the office and leaded glass windows which looked out on the stable house in the back.
One colleague talking about having the window open one day, a warm spring or fall day, and a squirrel jumping through the window onto a turntable.
It was a great place, a great ambiance for a fine arts station.
It definitely had a charm to it.
The University of Nebraska at Omaha is a place for tomorrow's leaders, a place where individuals converge on a path to success, getting the attention and direction they need as they begin their career. It's where students take pride in serving Omaha, a city we've invested in for more than 100 years. UNO is a place where greatness begins. The University of Nebraska at Omaha.